The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Shalom, everyone. My name is Rawchaa and He who praises the highest. And for those who don't know, I'm the director of the choir in Philadelphia, GOCC Philadelphia. The choir, that's my home church. And we're going to come before you this afternoon. And we're going to sing a song that was written in 1905. Written by a songwriter, pastor, former pastor of McKinley Memorial Church in Philadelphia, Charles A. McKinley. Song's entitled, The Storm is Passing Over. Whatever storm you're going through, if you're in the middle of the sea and the billows are rolling and the breakers may dash, and you're at that point when you're saying to the Lord, carest thou not we perish? But we're here to tell you this afternoon, the storm is passing over.
Take courage, my soul, and let
Some of y'all know my testimony. When I thought I was over cancer, March of this year, I woke up, pain in my back, couldn't walk. Here come old Slewfoot back again. Cancer in L1, L2, T12. So when I say the storm is passing over, I told everybody that I wasn't coming to Tabernacle. I couldn't make Tabernacle. 2 rods in my leg, 5 operations since October of 2019. I wasn't coming to Tabernacle. Listen to this. The storm is passing over. The storm. whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with in your life, you just say this. The storm is passing over. The storm. In the midnight hour. In the afternoon. The storm. You speak faith to it and you say this. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Praise I wonder if I could get some brothers to clear this out for me. Clear these mics out. So that we don't get
This is good. Just this one.
I'm gonna give him this.
I'll just take the other mic.
You want the mic?
Yeah, Mike, give Lawya his mic.
He got it.
All right, brothers and sisters. It is my esteemed pleasure. Shema, Shema, Shema. It is my esteemed pleasure and honor to welcome these brothers, these elders, fellow laborers in the spirit of the Most High that have not only worked but sacrificed. And the Bible says, give the elders double honor, especially those who labor in the word and doctrine. So not just from these elders, but the elders in the four corners of the earth, but also especially the elders that are before us today. Elder Rawchaa, Elder Lawya, GOCC, here and worldwide. Let's give the Most High some praise for these elders that are before us. Let's give it up.
All right. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Praise the Most High. Praise the higher. Let me hear you. Of course. Okay, let's bring the music all the way down. I'm sitting there, I'm grooving. I want to just get into it. Y'all got me grooving, you know, moving to it, but it's okay. Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Man, can you see the beautiful week the Most High has given us? Give it up to Ahaya. I was thinking that the whole time when I heard them sing beautifully. The storm has passed over. I'll tell you something. There's one brother has the perseverance of Job up in here. I'm like, how you doing? How y'all doing? I'll tell you something, brothers and sisters. One brother had the perseverance of, I don't know. It was like the three little pigs up in here. He came one year, it blew him away. Then he came another year, he put up tarp, and it flooded him out. And then I came yesterday and he built a house. From straw to stick to brick. And I'm like, okay, we're going to need this brother in the wilderness. He had a whole house built. I looked up from the hill. I'm like, what's down there? Yeshua says, that's that brother that got flooded out. I'm like, man, he got a Solomon tent down there. But first and foremost, the Most High has given us a great week. And I'm going to share every day with you all. I'll be here. I'm on camp and have a lot of plans for all of us going forward through the Spirit of the Most High. I'll tell you, it's going to be a fantastic week. Give it up again for the Most High. Okay, let me turn this thing off. Let me turn this off and put this to the side. Hold on. This beast thing, this tracker. I'm going to talk today, and it's not going to take long because I want to feast and get to talk to brothers and sisters throughout this week, starting this evening. Tonight, my lesson through the Spirit of the Most High He put on my heart to teach about today, or talk about, is living under Christ's house. And I need y'all to understand this, brothers and sisters, and understand what you've been called to. What we've been called to under Christ's house. Every individual in this church, in this world, and I'd like to honor all the elders, deacons, bishops, and all the brothers and sisters who are holding it down right now throughout the earth. But I need y'all to know something. When the Most High sent us here, individually into our mother's belly, we were alone. We were by ourselves. And I know we love the family, we love our husbands, wives, we love our children. But at the end of it, we're going to stand alone with Him. Why am I bringing this out? Why am I telling you this? The scriptures tell us that we were called for a purpose, and we all must search out our own soul salvation with fear and trembling. Find our calling and endure through the calling like Christ. Endure through the calling. Now, we're not going to be long, and I'm telling you the truth today. But let me say this. You probably heard me say this before. All right? You probably heard me say this before. I didn't choose to do this. It was the last thing in my mind coming up, growing into adulthood, and even when I realized that I was an Israelite. And I'm saying this because so many people look at the end result of what the church has become without realizing how I was called and how you were called in this, without any expectation of what part you would play in this. When we were called from the womb, Christ and the Most High called us to be his servant. I didn't realize that. So you can't look at the back end of it and say, well, okay, well, I'm going to mimic something, or this is how it's done. No, you can't do that. You have to find your mission and finish it. Now, when you realize what the mission is, then the real challenge comes. Right? The real challenge is, will I endure, or do I want to step in knowing the tribulation that comes with this choice? Elder Lawya. Something just came to my mind. One moment. Get Ezekiel 3 first. How you doing? Ezekiel 3. Every individual, all of us, will go back individually to the God that made us. And at the end of this life, we'll be standing before the King who sent us. And in that conversation, well, it can't be a conversation because before judgment, it says that we cannot utter a word. At the end of it, the one who sent us is going to make it plain to each individual. You know I sent you, and through your life, you know why I sent you. Come over. You've made it. Or there'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Every individual before the Father who lived through adulthood would realize what their purpose was by the Most High, for the Most High, and they'll know whether or not they walked away when the challenge presented itself. I just want to tell y'all something. How it wasn't Elder Rawchaa or any elders who built this church. We're living under Christ's house. Christ built this church. And I can only tell you this by giving you the example or speaking to you of how this church end up requiring organization. The requirement of organization came last. The spirit to teach the gospel came first. And through teaching the gospel, there was a requirement to set up a church. Understand that. I didn't set off as Elder Rawchaa to set up a church. I set off called to do a work and understanding that it might be a great work, and asking the Most High to give us, my family, and everyone the wisdom to judge righteously so that he can shape his church into what he intended for it. He just told me, okay, I gave you this, that, and the other. You know, you don't know everything. Who does? Teach that. Just teach it. In the confidence of everything you've studied, that's all you have to teach. Go out, speak into the wind, I'll do the rest. And as people started coming through saying, I'm hearing some things that I always understood, but now it seems like you've helped me connect the dots. It's like you're bringing things to my remembrance. I've always thought that, but most people thought that, I was weird in thinking certain things outside of the construct. And then I looked up, there was 5 people, 8 people, 12 people. Eventually, kept teaching, a multitude. It is like, well, hold up, what do we do with this? It must be organized under Christ's directive. Every position, every office must be constructed on the foundation. And it came through a requirement. An organized church had to be established based on the number of people the Most High caught in the wind. And I'm saying this not because of me. I started off that the Most High called each and every individual in this earth with a purpose. Time and chance happen to all men, and eventually, throughout life, in our adulthood, you understand what your purposes are in this earth. I just chose to step 2 feet into the purpose once I realized what I was called for, and was willing to renounce everything else in this world. The desire to one day become some music star out there somewhere. That's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted growing up was singing in the church, get a record deal, and get my family out of North Philadelphia. That was my plan. But what I see here is the Most High's plan. And I need y'all to understand that when we step out of ourselves, the power the Most High have in utilizing each and every individual. Through this comes many experiences. Many experiences. And this is why Solomon said this. Elder Lawya, chapter and verse.
Yes, sir. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5.
Come on.
In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, Thou hast shown unto thy servant David my father great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Lord my God, thou hast made me thy servant king instead of David my father. And I am but a little child, I know not how to go out or to come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude.
Now I need y'all to check this out. Solomon was raised to be king. He understood his path from birth. But when the time came to be chosen, he understood that what? Him as the seed of David, even through the bloodline, probably couldn't qualify to judge such a people. What happens when you judge God's people or operate in a leadership over God's people and break things? Who's accountable? He is. So he understood the magnitude, even though he was raised to be king. There was some hesitancy with him. He understood that to do such a work in this earth, it couldn't be done by him and him alone. That he needed help from something greater than himself. So he said what? Read it.
Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart.
Give me an understanding heart. Solomon could have asked for anything. First of all, the Most High said, you're now the chosen seed. Solomon, you can have anything you want. Okay, first of all right, a good-looking woman, a lot of riches, all right? Good-looking woman, riches, a family. Let me get a serious army to protect me. He didn't think of anything for himself. He thought about the task of judging righteously God's chosen people. Read it.
Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people.
That's what he asked for first. An understanding heart. Because what? Read.
That I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people?
Who can judge this peculiar people? They're not like any other people on earth. Who can actually judge such a people? So in each instance that I'm dealing with an individual, and this is what Solomon's letting people know, he understands in his interactions, he's not just dealing with people. He's talking or interacting or judging a son and daughter of God. First, and even Christ says, if you offend one of these little ones, it's better that a millstone is tied to your neck and you're thrown into the bottom of the sea, the ceiling of hell. That's what he asked for, with all the knowledge. So we ask for many things in this truth. But how many times as individuals living under Christ's house do we ask or pray for someone or something greater than ourselves? And just get up into the work and do your work so that the Most High can minister unto you and magnify you in due time. A man or a woman cannot just read scriptures and become the character in the scriptures. I can't read Isaiah and say, man, I want to do it. I want to become Isaiah. Isaiah was sent from the throne just like you and stepped in his purpose and became Isaiah. Jeremiah, the same. And so many times we try to look at the outward and try to judge what we read in the scriptures and not realizing these were regular people. And what distinguished them from us is that they stepped in their purpose, 2 feet in, knowing they can only do the best they can do by help from on high, and that was enough for the Most High. But you know what? It's never enough for man. And I thank the Most High that he measures every man, woman, and child that is sent into this earth. Because none of us would measure up, and none of us are worthy from those who observe from the outside. And if this is the lot that Christ had to take, because believe it or not, folks, how wild it sounds, to those who looked at Christ's work, Christ, for many, didn't measure up. So what I learned is not to measure myself, and we should learn the same to others. We should wake up and understand our purpose and know that it's okay in all of our imperfections that we're measuring. That's right. We are fulfilling the measurement the Most High have in us to do what he sent us to do. That's the measurement, because you can never satisfy people. And I can only realize this by dealing in the work. And the only thing, and guess what? The work, it tempers you. It shapes you. But you grow to a point and realize it's too much because there's too many people. And everyone cannot be satisfied, but you ask the Most High to give you what? An understanding heart. Because who can judge such a people? And when you're met with an instance, you use that understanding heart from one person to the next. And that's all God requires in his house. We make a mistake in this internet age, because with the internet, everything is so quick, instant. And we're always measuring ourselves with something, or always looking at something and saying, well, okay, well, why don't I add that to myself or do this to myself? No. When I was growing up, brothers and sisters, we had no internet. Each person who was seeking knowledge had to work for it. You had to go to the libraries. You had to study. You had to wait a week or two for a book that Amazon cannot deliver to you in 2 days. Where the effort was shown from the heavens that this person really wants to find out about me. So we so measure ourselves, caught up in the internet, we stop to a degree finding our purpose as individuals to finish. Read on, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. 1 Kings 3, verse 9. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people?
Come on.
And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him,
You notice Solomon didn't ask anything for himself. Not one thing. Not one thing. Let me tell you. What it takes to be a servant of the Most High. Because that's all a prophet is, a servant. What does it take? Well, what it takes is sacrifice and unselfishness. Now, when he increased you in due time, everyone can see that because they see things. Jacob seeketh a sign, but the Greeks seek after wisdom. So once he've increased you and things are going good and people start growing and now people say, oh man, this is deep. Oh man, look at this church. It's easy for somebody to look back and say, well, yeah, this is a great thing. being carnal. Jacob seeketh a sign. But who was there? Who was there when you sold everything and don't have nothing? When you depleted a bank account and you're homeless overseas someplace, who was there? Who was there when the only money that was there you thought can stretch out for another month or two? 5 or 6 people fly over on planes and say, I'm coming to the wilderness with no place to stay, and you got to empty your bank account so that they don't go out and harm themselves. Who was there when you flew over into England and there was no place to stay? Up 7-8 hours on a broadcast, only to come back home to sleep on a mattress that you have to hold the hole together, air mattress, so that you and your wife can have something to sleep on. Who was there when Elder Lawya and others were in a small room that was so small it was between this microphone and that microphone? Where the only thing we can look forward to was onions and potatoes that someone gave us free from the garden. And we had to stress that out for 3 weeks at a time. Who was there? It's easy to sit back and look in hindsight and see the glory, but don't know or what they deem glory, but not realize the sacrifice that it took to get here. And guess what? What you don't realize is that what shaped you. When you're 2 feet in with your family with nothing and you have to depend on the Most High. And then on the other side, when the Most High confirmed that you made the right decision, that's when men begin to wake up and say, you know what? This may be something special. Because they're seeing what? The end of the work and not what it took to get here. But through it all, it doesn't matter. What never changed? Servants never change. The same perseverance that got us from there back here will one day lead us out again. And what we're doing under God's house, which is his tabernacles, will be done permanently until we walk into Zion. And guess what? That's guaranteed. So we have to start looking inward and saying, am I doing enough? Inward. Inward. Am I doing enough? Am I measuring correctly? What is my view of what I was called into? Another thing. I'm going to go into it. Finish reading, Elder Rawchaa.
Yes, sir. 1 Kings 3:11.
Come on.
And God said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked for riches for thyself.
Come on.
Nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked.
Listen, he didn't even ask for the Most High to judge his enemies. Whatever Solomon would have asked, the Most High would have done. He says, because you didn't ask me to destroy your enemies. Read.
But hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment, behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart.
I've given you a wise and understanding heart. Now, with this wise and understanding heart, queens, kings, magistrates, leaders would come from the four corners of the earth to seek the wisdom of Solomon. And what a lot of you don't realize, and probably do, is that all the universities in this earth that we see as schools of learning comes from the original education that was given to the kings who sought out Solomon. Every university. That's the knowledge he received and more, because these universities aren't teaching anything of consequence today. But the structure was set up to a degree where there was nothing in this earth scientifically, agriculturally, wisdom and counsel. There was nothing withheld from Solomon when he was faced with a scenario that needed knowledge. The Most High revealed it to him. But he didn't just, it wasn't no presto magic where it just zipped into him because of that moment. I need y'all to understand how it works. It's the circumstance that are before you that grows the experience that leads to knowledge. It was the interaction. And then the knowledge would come in on how he should judge a matter, and most on the outside realize the way he dealt with this matter is different. Whose babies is that? That's my baby. No, that's my baby. Oh, so we don't know whose baby this is. Okay, give me the sword. Both of you can have the baby. Both of you can have the baby. I'm going to cut the child in half. Now, he didn't go to a school for that. But in the moment, because of what he asked, the Most High gave him knowledge to do what? Judge righteously in moments. In moments of life or death, the Most High would intervene and put in his conscience the fix. And others realize, okay, this is different. And this is how it works, brothers and sisters. It isn't knowledge and increasing and doing the work of the Most High isn't presto magic where someone zaps something in you because you're baptized. The baptism is when the Holy Spirit come into you, but your experiences is what shape you. And having the knowledge and temperance to deal in this word is what grow prophets and servants. That's the male example, and we all know the example of Esther, where the Most High would do what? He would use the gift that he has given women through their power of femininity to get in places a man cannot. Not for riches, not the bag, because the bag, she was next to the king. She could have accomplished the bag easily, but she got close enough to help save our people. Circumstance, opportunity, not our opportunity, but the opportunity to do his will, knowing that at the end of it, it will not be husband, wife, son, daughter, because he sent every last person individually with a purpose. He just sent us to help each other along and to extend the legacy that was prophesied since the beginning. But at the end of it, it's you at the end of it before the Most High. Wisdom. Under the Most High's house. And I'm going to talk about this since we're here under the Most High's house this week. What house? The earth. Acts 7:48, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
Come on. Acts 7:48.
Yes, sir. Acts 7, verse 48.
Yes.
Howbeit, the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands.
Howbeit, the Most High dwell not in temples made with hands. Read.
As saith the prophet, heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool.
The earth is my footstool. Folks, we didn't become a nation with substance. When I say with substance, we didn't have territory. We were wandering in the wilderness, figuring each other out, getting on each other's nerves, and above all, getting on the Most High's nerves. And that's all of us in the wilderness, including Moses. He says what?
Heaven is my throne.
Heaven is my throne.
And the earth is my footstool.
And the earth is my footstool. You're under my house. Doesn't matter where you are. This is the place the Most High sit back, kick back, and put his foot. Read.
What house will ye build me?
What house will you build me? Come on.
Saith the Lord. Or what is the place of my rest?
Where is the place of my rest? Read.
Have not my hand made all these things?
Look at this. That's our Father, which art in heaven. Have not what? Have not what? Read it.
Have not my hand made all these things?
I made all these things. If this house belongs to our Father, then what? If you step in faith and not put yourself in the box, you will realize that this house belongs to us. But fear, insecurities, doubt, lack of faith restricts us from actually benefiting from this place. The whole house belonged to the Most High. John 14:1 of the Lawya, Christ. Under Christ's house.
Yes, sir. St. John 14, verse 1.
Read it.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me.
Come on.
In my Father's house are many mansions.
In my Father's house, what?
Are many mansions.
Are many mansions. You know Christ was a carpenter, right? He was a carpenter. How many houses did you see Christ build for himself? He understood the whole earth belonged to him. This is his Father's house, and it belongs to us. When we restrict ourselves to a thing and get comfortable, we'll start to believe, well, this is what I work for. Well, what if one day you have to walk away? Are you prepared to walk away and have enough faith to receive a house that Christ had prepared for you? Let me tell you, when we stepped out of America initially, when the Most High sent us to be he goats before the flock, let me tell you something. Everyone on earth thought we were crazy. And hey, we're human. You think Satan didn't creep into our minds out there all over the place? France, England, Egypt, Greek islands. You think Satan didn't creep into our minds and say, man, what are we doing? There's good days and bad days. Like, man, Lord, please. I mean, the Most High was like, listen, you go do what you're doing. Just continue. This is my house. Continue. And I look up and not realizing that if I would have stayed where I was without stepping out on faith, I wouldn't have gained the experiences. I need y'all to think about this. traveling on the way back. We got to get these churches together because things have gotten too big. Sitting down with a guy, just out of nowhere, there was a guy over there who says, man, there's a excavation trip. This is one of many experiences. Elder Lawya and all of you can attest to this. I'm sitting there. Excavation. A guy comes and says, listen, you got an excavation. Y'all can come together. There's a winery, one of the oldest wineries that's written up in Europe. Come to see how wine is actually made. I'm like, wine? Okay. Christ turned water into wine, and he shredded the wine press, and I'm like, okay. So the guy takes us to this winery. Now, check out this. It's a bus excavation to the winery, about an hour and a half away from where we were staying. There was no people at the winery. Right? It was just a little tour. We go and see how wine is made. Listen to this. There was a stage there, a microphone. No one was there. You were there, right? He was there. He was on the excavation. Blah. You remember that, right? No one there but a microphone. We go there and plug up into it and sang about 2-3 songs. The guy's family started looking out the window from the villa that was attached on the property. They come out and start hearing what was going on. Now this guy, quote unquote, right? Just a regular old guy. He says, listen, who are you? I told him my name. And he sat down at the table. They had cheeses there, a little wine. He says, listen, do you know who I am? I'm like, you got it on the wine. He says, yes. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Then he says, listen, I'm a very rich man. He says, you from America? I'm like, I'm from America. He says, you stay here. You sing. We can entertain. I'll make sure you'll never want for nothing. You or your family have a place to stay. Villas, you name it. You stay. Guess what? I had to go. Our flight was leaving in 2 weeks. I'm like, no, I'm good, sir, but your wine is good. Thank you for the trip. He says, if you ever come back, call me. These are experiences. Stranger, never met. Because why? Once you have money, and the chase for the money no longer exists, you begin to value life and what's important. And to have someone who can sing or to make his family happy, he's willing to put his money up because that's what he got the money for. I was about to leave. One of the guys who we would do certain shows for and all that cried. I've never had anyone, when I had a back problem, pray for me. Why do you gotta leave? One guy by the name of Statos owned Villa. He owned many parts of where I was living. He says, Rich, what you want? He says, you need a villa? You need a house? We got ships. What do you want? I'm like, I gotta go. Folks left with absolutely everything I gave was for this work, leaving, and all the people that were there who came on a plane, simple as they could be, with telling their mothers they were fleeing, flat broke. Maestro, who ended up producing the music for us. The only thing he had in his back pocket, and he'll tell you, And I said, young man, you're gonna get me messed up. I don't even know you. You're gonna come over here, you didn't tell your parents, and guess what? Last Monday, we had to pay for something with these brothers, and he came with 2 other people who said that they wanted me to baptize them in the water here because they had to stop off in Amsterdam where they would get high for the last time before meeting Elder Rawchaa to baptize them. And I'm sitting here. I'm like, boy, he says, Elder, I'm just glad to see you. I'm like, what's going on with our people? I said, we don't have much money. Let's pay for the place for a few months and we'll work this out. Last money didn't have no money left. And then I'm sitting with people saying, listen, here's Vilas, here's this, here's that, just stay. How many persons that you know, he's a guy who owned this big thing with a back problem, and you ask him, excuse me, at night, I'll tell you what, man, let me do a prayer for you. Pray? I'm like, can I pray for you? And the guy started scratching his head. I prayed with him, and he says, you know what? I feel better. I'm like, I know you feel better. It's the experience of stepping out on faith and doing what you're called to do. And each day, the Most High put an experience in your life to confirm you made the right choice. So that if he takes you today, you can stand before him and he's going to say, you know what? At least you did what I sent you to do. You aren't perfect, but everyone I put in your life, guess what? You blessed them. You blessed them with the moment. You showed them that you belong to me. Jew and Gentile alike, you knew that the earth was my footstool and the people in it were my children. You never turned anyone back. Strangers, you never turned them back. Gentiles, you healed. So under the Most High's house, and I'm putting this out there for you to let you know that we are greater than this world, than America would ever tell us. But you didn't have the experience out there to know what a blessing we are to everyone else. I know we got to eat. I got one more. Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Hebrews 12 and 1.
Hebrews 12, verse 1.
Come on.
Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses,
Come on.
let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doeth so easily beset us.
Come on.
And let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
Let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Run with patience. We need to stop measuring ourselves to other men. Women have to stop measuring themselves to other women. The measurement is the expectations the Most High have in us for those who know his son. That's the only expectation. Guess what? And guess what the Most High could always expect from Christ in this earth? That he was doing the Most High's business. Doing the Most High's business. What does it mean to really believe and have faith? What does it mean? Even Paul, shipwrecked, lost all the material for his tents, you name it, held on to a piece of wood to survive. And some people will look at that and be like, see, I thought he was dealing with the Most High. Look at him. Sitting there holding on wood, suffering. See, I told you he ain't down with the Most High. But I tell you what, if any of you get shipwrecked and want to live through it, if you knew what he experienced, who would you be looking at? Paul. learn strictly from what people can see as signs of the glory of it. It's the experience that gets you the glory. And that's what brothers and sisters ignore, measuring themselves to others, when the only one we must measure ourselves to is Christ. And know that every last person comes up short. Let's go down to Moses real quick, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
I think it's the 9th verse. Wait, it talks about Moses there?
Yes, sir. Verse 9.
Yeah.
Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh.
11, yeah. Come on.
Hebrews 11, verse 9.
Come on.
By faith he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange country.
Read that again. This is Moses. Come on.
Let me jump down to Moses. That's Abraham. So jumping down to Moses in verse number 24.
Yep.
Back 23.
Read it.
By faith, Moses, when he was born.
When Moses was born, now he was sent in the earth to save Israel. Now, do you think he knew that he was sent to do this growing up in Pharaoh's house? He was just learning a trade, learning how to be a prince. There's great men and women, not just in this room, but throughout the four corners of the earth, that's going to do great work. But in order to do that, and what I've learned, even by leaving and traveling, we must step outside of ourselves, our comfort zone, to really understand what it means to take full advantage of this experience called life. Listen to what he went through. Read it.
By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child.
Come on.
And they were not afraid of the king's commandment.
Come on.
By faith, when he was come to years, Moses refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Look at that. Just like a lot of us begin to change our name. We refuse to go by the bywords or the slave names that were placed on us. Read.
25. Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God.
Come on.
Than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Look at that. Read.
Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches.
Hold up. Esteeming the reproach of Christ. Now he's already given up a kingdom as Prince of Egypt. Now who can do that with someone saying, listen, I'm going to promise you a kingdom that you may see after death. But you must walk away from the kingdom you're ruling over now. I've learned so much in this experience called church, under Christ's church. And guess what? I'm still a student. It's not over until it's finished. It's not over. We're going to see all types of things. But there's not an experience, even through peril and tribulation, that I believe we will face, and we will face it. Not one thing that can happen that I believe we cannot overcome. And I know that for sure. The Most High has given me experiences, given us experiences. And a lot of you have these stories where you knew that there was what? Celestial intervention. Where there's no way I could have gotten from this place to that place unless God intervened. It puts life in perspective when you understand what you're called for. Imagine being king and prince over something, and then the realization through the Spirit comes to you like Moses and say, you know what? This preparation and experience you learned in Egypt's house, in the Egyptian Pharaoh's house, wasn't for you, Moses. my people with the knowledge of how to establish and form government. It was his schooling in Egypt. We just thought, okay, the sword of Egypt would come and kill the boy, and they don't want the boy. That's only one story. The other story is the experience he can get knowing how to run a country. How to interact with diplomats. How to sit with kings and not be impressed or fearful. Knowing that no matter how much money someone has or prestige or recognition, they're just people. He wasn't starstruck sitting next to a prince or a king. Because he was raised seeing his father conferring counsel with diplomats of high matters. But that couldn't have happened if the Most High didn't allow him to sit amongst princes. The Bible is only one level of knowledge. To utilize the wisdom of knowledge in life is a higher experience. And it cannot be taught. It must be lived. And I'm talking about what it really means to live as a child of God, trusting the Most High. I believe this tabernacle is going to give us a great experience that will lead us to operate and trust in one another through some serious times, some tribulation that's coming, and I believe it's this tabernacle right here. Finish reading of the Lawya and we'll wrap it up.
Yes, sir. Verse 24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Come on.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God.
He was willing to suffer affliction with the children of God. See, it's easy to see things on the outside and see, man, look how great this is and how big this is becoming. We got the tarts and folks, this is happening all over the earth at once. You think I planned this? This couldn't happen unless the Most High sent members of the body and gathered and people stepped in, that's right, to do their calling with the experience the Most High had given them separate from me. Man, y'all see those Peace FM things and like, man, Elder was on fire, Peace FM. Oh, I'm listening to all that. I'm like, here, fire. Okay. There was nothing so happy about those experiences on ice roads to try to get an hour and a half away through fog on a place called Snake Road. And only afterward, where Shapat Mark tell me, after we get off the road, yeah, you know more people die on this road than any other road in England. An ice storm of biblical proportions. This guy's driving through it with eyeglasses on through England's fog. Only to teach, because I had to make sure the United States get it, so I had to teach with Gotcha up until 5 in the morning and have to drive right back, get some breakfast, sleep for about 4 hours, then go do something else that was needed for the church. No one seen anything. And guess how much I got paid for Peace FM? A donut. 0. Their ratings went through the roof, and next thing you know, people calling day and night. They wanted more of this particular program, but couldn't control me because I wouldn't get control. And I never received a red cent and got more ratings. And they'll tell you it was more ratings on Peace FM when I stepped in there than any other broadcast. They was like, Rawchaa, we probably need to switch you and move y'all to prime time. I'm like, no, Wednesdays is good so that we can get to our people in the United States too. Got paid 0. But it was an integral part of this ministry. kept my head down, prayed, and worked. Never measuring myself to anyone else. Well, let me go over there and look and see what UPK doing. I used to be a part of it. See what's going on. Let me see what this group doing. No, it's not about groups. After the internet, there will be no name for groups. We're his people under his house. Life is the experience, and you want to be right when you're standing before the Most High, who sent you from birth all alone with no family. Last scripture, then we can do a communion. Read it.
Yes, sir. Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Come on.
Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt.
Come on.
For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king.
Come on.
For he endured as seeing him who was invisible.
He endured seeing him who was invisible. He was working for the Most High. Read.
28. Through faith he kept the Passover.
Through faith he kept the Passover. Read.
And the sprinkling of the blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, assaying to do, were drowned.
Come on.
By faith the walls of Jericho fell down.
The walls of Jericho fell down without one man pushing, without one woman pushing. We sang and we shouted, the walls of Jericho came down. Read.
By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days.
Come on.
By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not.
Come
but
on.
She had received the spies with peace.
Come on.
And what shall I say? And what more shall I say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness,
gave a righteous way as an example for others. Read. Obtained promises. Read.
Stopped the mouths of lions.
Come on.
Quenched the violence of fire. Escaped the edge of the sword. Out of weakness were made strong. Waxed valiant in fight. Turned to fight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection.
Come on.
And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonments. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
And as you can see, let me ask you a question. And I need you all to answer this genuinely. Are these that are celebrated and read about in the scriptures, these righteous, these prophets, teachers, outside of Christ, are they any better than we? No. So what would be the difference if there was? Of faith, to have faith, or the lack thereof. And what I learned, this work would not have been possible if I ever tried to measure a work to others, or to measure my righteousness or my lack of righteousness to someone else. The only thing the Most High required for me to do is what was possible for me to do. And that was good. That's good enough for him. And that's the same as any other prophet, teacher, minister. The only thing the Most High requires us to do, not anything we think is something outside of ourselves we must learn. We just have to bring forth the understanding within us and the requirement he had since we were born, and do that. That's all he requires. And eventually, if we all do this the same and continue from this Passover, this tabernacle together, I believe we will endure together under the Most High's house, under Christ, and see Zion together. And if you believe that through faith, stand and give full praise to a higher under his house. Praise the higher. The water Yeshua. To the Holy Spirit. And we're gonna take communion real quick. Let me say this. This communion is serious. Like all other communion. Let me make it clear. There have been times in my life, understanding the gravity of what taking communion really is, that I would rather not have done it. I remember in 2008, there was communion. Now, I felt that there was aught against me. I didn't feel right at the table. But I wasn't going to offend my connection with Christ by partaking at a table knowing that I felt a certain type of way. So I didn't take it. And everyone at the table knew he must have a problem. Because my agreement isn't with us in general. This agreement comes next after my agreement with Christ. And I'm not going to act like everything is good with my brother, knowing I didn't go to my brother, and now we're going to partake with bread and wine as if everything is okay. Let me tell you, that's a dangerous thing to do in the spirit. When we go from holy day to holy day with the knowledge the Most High has instilled in us for these holy days, understanding that Christ is at the table upstairs. And we're in his house. And the sins that are being forgiven as we forgive one another are being forgiven at the altar in heaven. So I say this for the sake of your own soul. If you really feel a certain type of way about someone and didn't go to them, don't partake. It's okay. There'll be another communion. But so many people I've seen took it. But something was in their heart. And you notice I say this every time we teach, since the beginning, since I came back. Do not partake of this bread and wine knowing you feel any certain type of way. And this is why I can say in good conscience, I can always take bread and wine without an issue. You know why? Because if I got an issue, I tell a person in the spirit of meekness, whether they accept it or not, it's all for me. I did what was required in my agreement with Christ, and I'm good with the heavens. If someone else want to take a bread somewhere else and do something, that's on them. So, Elder Lawya,
Yes, sir.
let's do the bread and wine, and let's do this in the faith with the Most High guiding us from this tabernacle to the next tabernacle, all the way to the last tabernacle, the wilderness. This is to the Most High in the wilderness, Let's take our bread and drink our wine with love in our heart. And ask the Most High after the atonement, 10 days prior, that he forgive our sins, and we're going to forgive everyone else going forward. Walk in newness of spirit, and more so focus on what? Our requirement with him going forward. And we're going to measure ourselves with the Son. If someone do aught with us, we're going to do what's right, and we're going to keep going. We're going to pray for those who are without. We're even going to pray for our enemies. Those who would despitefully use us. Those who speak aught against us. We're going to forgive them. Come on, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. For I have received of the Lord that which I also delivered unto you, that the Lord Yeshua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me.
Thank you, Yeshua, for your sacrifice. Your body. Eat.
After the same manner also, he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as often as ye drink it in remembrance of me.
This is the blood of Christ that was sacrificed on the crucifix for the sins of our nation, to take away the sins of the world. Please, Yeshua, accept our sacrifice going forward towards your kingdom, and accept us into your house. Until you return, here's a communion with your body. Drink. Praise the Most High.
Elders said it, but I mirror it, right? It's a work between the elders of the church, the deacons, the officers that run this. So if you have a local deacon or officer, Deacon Shamal, Deacon Aaron, the brothers from upstate, the brothers from Boston, let's give a hand clap for those brothers.